The office complex looked different at night. The glass walls were dark mirrors, and the long corridors held a soft hum from machines that never slept. A light rain tapped the pavement. A man in a plain jacket and a simple badge walked in through the staff entrance. His badge said Operations Trainee, and he smiled politely when the receptionist waved him through. He was the new face on the night shift. No one knew he was actually the CEO. He wanted to see the building as it truly was, not through reports or polished tour days, but through the quiet hours when small problems became big for the people who kept the place safe. The night supervisor gave him a quick tour. Check doors on the half hour. Watch the monitors. If something looks odd, call it in. The rules were clear and short. The supervisor spoke plainly, not rude, not warm, simply tired. Night work had that tone. The trainee nodded, keen to learn and not to stand out. He asked short questions and took mental notes. The camera feeds flickered now and then. A few hallway lights buzzed with a weak sound. A maintenance card on the wall listed dates and promises, but the last completed entry was weeks ago. The security booth near the loading dock felt like a small island. One chair, a desk, a phone, a radio, a set of keys, and a lamp that flickered like a slow blink. A man in a neat uniform sat there. His face was calm. He looked like someone who was used to waiting, watching, and not making a fuss. He greeted the trainee with a friendly nod and a soft, "Good evening." On the desk, beside the radio and the duty log, lay a thick book with a bright blue cover. The trainee noticed a small flashlight resting on the open pages. During the first quiet stretch, the trainee stood by the booth window and watched the loading dock. He heard the soft click of a pen and turned. The guard had switched on the flashlight and pointed it at the book. The lamp over the desk had dimmed again. The flashlight beam made a steady circle of light. The book's title read, Network Fundamentals. Exam Guide. The guard traced a line with his finger as he read. He was not rushing. He read each sentence as if it mattered to his future, which it did. The trainee smiled. "Night reading?" he asked in a light tone. The guard smiled back. "Yes, break time reading. My exam is in 4 weeks. I need to be ready." His name tag read Rafi. He explained that the booth's overhead light flickered in a way that hurt his eyes, so he used a small flashlight to focus. He did not complain. He offered it as a simple fact, like the weather or the time. He showed the trainee his notes, careful handwriting in a cheap notebook, arrows linking ideas, simple diagrams of networks and routers that he had copied from. The book again and again until they made sense. A call came in from the cleaning team. A spill on level 3. Rafi took the radio, thanked them, logged the time, and glanced at the cameras. Then he stood up and said, "Patrol." The trainee joined him. They moved through quiet floors that smelled of lemon cleaner. In one office, a monitor glowed with a screensaver like a drifting ribbon. In another, a printer rested with its light on, waiting for daylight. Rafi checked each door and greeted the few staff still working late with a kind word. His walk was steady and alert. He kept time with the trainees' steps, speaking softly as they went. On the way back, his phone buzzed. He checked it quickly and looked relieved. "My wife says the landlord gave us an extra day for the rent," he said with a small smile. "Good," the trainee replied. There was no judgment in his voice, only care. Rafi nodded and put his phone away. "I am saving for the exam fee and the bus pass," he added after a moment. "It is a little hard. Extra shifts help, but they make the studying slow. Still, I am trying." The trainee listened closely and tucked these facts in his mind. He had seen big budgets and big plans. Now he was hearing how small costs shaped a family's week, and how a simple exam fee could feel like a hill. Back. In the booth, the lamp blinked again and dimmed to a tired glow. Rafi did not even try the switch this time. He reached for the flashlight as if it were a friend. He opened his book to a chapter about IP addresses and wrote 3 examples on a sticky note. He set the note on the edge of the monitor to look at it while he scanned the camera feeds. He had made a system for himself. Watch the monitors, read a paragraph, write a note, check the clocks, write another note. The trainee admired the rhythm. It was simple and smart, a way to learn without breaking the rules or the watch. A cleaner came by with a cart. One wheel squeaked. She asked if the last bus schedule was posted anywhere. Rafi took his flashlight, walked around the desk, and shone the light on the clipboard by the wall. He read the times with her, explained the late-night route, and circled 2 options on her small paper with his pen. She thanked him. He smiled and said, "Safe trip." The trainee noticed how often the small beam of light fixed small moments, finding a bus time, reading a log, learning a term. The flashlight was not only for the book, it was for dignity. It brought calm order to things that did not quite work. The night supervisor returned, collected a few signatures, and left again to check the loading dock. Rafi showed the trainee how to switch views on the cameras and how to mark a door open for vendor without messing up the midnight lock cycle. He explained the trick to the radio battery that sometimes slipped out of place. He never spoke badly about anyone. He did not blame. He simply knew how to work around problems that had lingered, and he shared that knowledge as if it were normal and expected. His focus made the trainee wonder how many quiet experts worked like this every night so that the building could shine in the morning. By 2 in the morning, the city was very still. A bus drifted past the front of the building, and the rain eased into a mist. Rafi poured tea from a small thermos and offered a cup. It was warm and sweet. He took a short break. The trainee saw him set an alarm on his phone for 9 minutes, then open his book with the flashlight again. "I study in short bursts," Rafi said. "I read a page and test myself. Then I do a quick patrol. It helps me remember. If I try to read for too long, I get sleepy." He smiled as if this was a small joke at his own expense. The trainee laughed softly. "That is a good plan," he said, and he meant it. On the next patrol, they passed a hallway window. The trainee could see his own reflection, plain jacket, plain badge, plain face. He liked the way the glass made him equal with any other worker. It ground his thoughts. He asked about Rafi's exam. "It is the entry-level certification," Rafi said. "If I pass, I can apply for an IT support role, even at a beginner level. I like solving small problems. If a printer does not work, I like making it work. If the network is slow, I like finding out why. At home, I watch free videos. I pause them. I write steps. I try again. Sometimes I fail. It is okay. I try again." A soft beeping sounded from a door that had not shut properly. Rafi walked over and pressed the latch into place. The beeping stopped. He took a small card from his pocket and wrote the door number and a note. "Latch loose. Needs check." The trainee felt something in his chest as he watched this. It was respect, simple and clean. In the big picture, a loose latch was nothing. But for the guard on the night shift, it was not nothing. It was a detail that could cause a bigger problem later. He handled it now. He had the habit of a person who cared about the next person's shift, the next person's safety, the next person's work. At 3:30, there was a surprise spot check from an external auditor. She wore a bright vest and asked for procedures and logs. Rafi pulled the right forms without a pause. He answered each question calmly. He took the trainee through a sample drill on the radio, hit the correct codes, and read from the policy page he had bookmarked. The auditor nodded and wrote a note. She did not smile, but she did not frown either. She left a paper that said, "Satisfactory." Rafi put it in the log, then exhaled softly. The trainee saw how steady he remained under pressure and how that Steadiness came from preparation, not luck. As the night moved toward morning, a soft blue light began to touch the edges of the windows. The cleaners finished their rounds. A few early staff arrived with quiet footsteps and hot coffee. Rafi closed his book and tucked his flashlight into a small pouch. He updated the duty log. He wrote neat lines about patrols, calls, the door. With the loose latch, the auditor's visit. He did not mention his studying. He did not draw attention to himself. He simply wrote the facts so the day shift would know what happened and what needed care. The trainee stood by the booth and thanked him for showing the ropes. Rafi nodded and said, "You did well." He smiled as if to make the new person feel capable. His bus would come soon. He would go home, sleep a little, wake to help his child with schoolwork in the late afternoon, then come back for another night. He had made a model of a network at home with string and sticky notes for his kid to see. He had turned a hard path into a shared game. The trainee imagined this scene and felt a warmth that he could not place. It was hope, simple and steady, like the beam of a flashlight. Before leaving, Rafi filled out a maintenance request online for the booth lamp. He chose careful words so it would not be ignored. Light flickers continuously, causes eye strain. Request replacement bulb or fixture. Affects night operations. He clicked submit and watched the screen confirm. He did not expect instant help, but he still asked. He believed in asking because asking was part of change. The trainee walked out into... The next week began with a steady rain and a message on the roster board. 2 guards had called in sick. Shifts were moved. Breaks were shorter. The night supervisor read the changes in a flat voice and wrote new times on a whiteboard. Rafi's line got an extra hour added on 2 nights and a split break on the 3rd. He nodded, said, understood, and did not complain. The trainee stood beside him and felt the weight of those small changes. An extra hour did not seem big on paper, but it reached into study time, bus time, sleep time, family time. It spread out like a ripple. That night, the booth lamp blinked in slow, stubborn pulses. The maintenance ticket still showed in queue. Rafi set his flashlight on the book again, patient as always. He had a habit now. He opened to the chapter summary first, read the bold words, then studied the diagrams. When he wanted to test himself, he covered the labels with sticky notes and tried to recall each term. His phone buzzed with a text from home. It was a picture of his child's school note. A trip fee was due at the end of the week. He smiled at the photo, saved it, and put the phone face down to finish a practice page. On patrol, the trainee watched how Rafi handled small frictions like a craftsman. A badge scanner that sometimes needed a gentle tap. A stairwell door whose closer ran too fast. A camera feed with a thin gray line from a loose cable. He did not grumble. He noted things and moved steadily. When they returned to the booth, 2 co-workers were leaning on the counter. They joked lightly about the big blue book. "Still reading that brick?" one said with a grin. "That exam will read you instead." The words were not cruel, but they bumped against a person's hope. Rafi smiled. "I learn a little each day," he said. "Even a brick becomes a wall if you place it one by one." The trainee stored that line in his mind. The trainee had a small notebook of his own. He did not write anything that would reveal who he was. He wrote what anyone could write. Booth lamp flickers, replace. Quiet room for breaks, none. Shift swap rules, rigid. He timed the walk from the booth to the nearest quiet corner. It was long, and the corner was not quiet at all. A vending machine hummed loudly there, and a fan clicked with an uneven rhythm. He stood in that sound for a minute and pictured studying next to it. Then he shut his eyes and listened to what the building was saying between the lines. People were making do. 2 nights later, the schedule changed again. An event on Level 7 needed overnight setup. The loading dock grew busy after midnight. Trucks backed up and beeped. The night supervisor asked for extra eyes on the cameras, while the team on level 7 rolled out equipment. Rafi absorbed this change and shifted his study plan. He slid a ribbon into his book to mark a short section he could read between heavy minutes. He set his timer for 6 minutes instead of 9. He kept his smile. The trainee thought about how often big plans broke when they did not respect small minutes. Around 2 in the morning, Rafi's phone data ran out. He tapped a practice test link and got a blank screen with a polite message about limits. He locked his phone and set it face down. He could have sighed. He could have muttered. Instead, he opened the back of his notebook and drew a small 10-question quiz from memory. List 3 private IP ranges, he wrote. Explain subnet. Mask in 1 sentence. What is the purpose of DNS? He answered each question with a short line in simple words, then checked them against his book. The trainee watched this and felt a warm respect again. When resources were small, Rafi made his own. The cleaner from the other week came by. Her name was Amina. She pushed her cart with the squeaky wheel, smiled, and asked if Rafi had seen a pair of gloves near the mailroom. He had not, but he stood and helped her check. They walked a quiet loop, and he checked the lost and found bin by the service elevator. No luck. He returned to the booth and took a pen and a small card. He wrote, Amina, gloves missing, check level 2 and dock office later, and taped the note where he would see it at shift end. The trainee noticed how Rafi used notes to hold care across hours so that small needs did not vanish into the dark. A few minutes later, a courier arrived with a late delivery. The night supervisor needed a signature and asked Rafi to escort the courier to a secure room. That task stole a break without anyone meaning harm. Rafi reset his timer, walked, checked the room, logged the entry, logged the exit, returned and logged that too. When he sat down, the trainee saw 2 things at once. The building had needs and the person had dreams. They were not enemies, but they pulled in different directions. It would take a better system to let them both win. On the 4th night, there was a mild storm. The rain turned from a whisper to a steady drum. One camera on the east side fogged up, and the dock canopy leaked near the edge. Rafi moved a small bin under the drip, added a note to the log for day shift, and kept going. He glanced at the clock and the chapter title, Network Troubleshooting Flow. He drew a simple ladder of steps and wrote, Check physical first, at the top. The trainee smiled quietly. Here was an honest truth. In networks and in life, start with the cable. Start with the lamp. Start with the schedule. At 3, 2 co-workers came by again, both friendly but sharp with jokes. You going to be our boss in IT one day? One said. Then you'll move us like chess. Rafi laughed softly. If I ever get there, he said, I will bring extra chairs, not chess. They laughed and moved on. When they left, the trainee asked, Does it bother you when people joke? Rafi shook his head. They are tired, he said. Tired people joke. I take the good part, their company. Then I return to my page. He turned the page and pointed the flashlight at a diagram. Sometimes the trainee wanted to act right then, fix the lamp, buy the exam for Rafi, change the schedule with one call. But he had come here to learn first. He kept that promise to himself. Still, he allowed himself one small kindness that did not break his cover. On his way in the next night, he stopped by a small store and bought a pack of quality batteries. In the booth, when Rafi's beam dimmed, the trainee reached into his pocket and said, I have spares. I keep them for the radio. It was true. Radios did need batteries. Rafi thanked him warmly and placed 2 fresh ones in the flashlight. The beam grew strong and the book grew clear again. As the week went on, the trainee began to see patterns. There were 3 major problems that touched many people: light, time, and space. Light was simple equipment that worked every time: lamps, bulbs, stable fixtures in booths, and brake spots. Time was predictable shifts and protected breaks, a system that could bend when people were learning for exams, not just when someone was missing. Space was one small, truly quiet place to rest and study, with a table, a chair, and a working outlet. None of this was grand. It was not a big plan with a glossy cover. It was basic respect, measured in watts, minutes, and square feet. He tested his view by walking different routes. He asked light questions to different people. If you had 10 quiet minutes, where would you go? When the lamp is out, what do you do? If a person wanted to study for a certificate, how would the schedule help or hurt? He did not pry. He listened. The answers came like a gentle stream. A concierge said she studied in a stairwell once, until her back hurt from leaning on the wall. A janitor said he paid for a coffee at a cafe at 4 in the morning twice a week just to sit under a decent light. A guard said he had given up on a course because the swap rules made it too hard to attend the Saturday class. The trainee wrote nothing down in front of them, but he remembered. At home, Rafi's week also stretched. His child's field trip. Fee was due, and the rent grace day was almost over. He did an extra hour, then another, and his eyes got tired sooner than he liked. He told the trainee a small truth with a small smile. I fell asleep on my book for 5 minutes. The page left a mark on my cheek. The trainee laughed with him, not at him. He wished he could have handed him a key to a quiet room right. Then, instead, he said, you are building strength the way a person builds a tunnel, one spoon at a time. The day will come when the light breaks through. The end of that week brought a different kind of pressure. A memo came from day management about on-site audits for the event on Level 7. The memo asked for strict adherence to break times and no personal use of electronic devices at security posts. The rule had always been there in some form, but the tone sharpened it. The trainees and guards read it, nodded, and signed as people do. Rafi did not break rules. He closed his book during busy minutes, and he never let his study ruin his watch. Still, the memo cast a small shadow. It told a quiet learner to be smaller. That night, the trainee watched Rafi adjust again. He moved his self-test to the official, break and set his timer to draw a clear line. He kept his book closed outside of that line and used his mind to rehearse terms while watching the monitors. DNS translates names to numbers. Private ranges 10, 172, 16, 31, 192, 168. He whispered these in his head and checked the doors. He did not let the new rule pull him back. He let it teach him to be even more precise. Near dawn, a small moment showed the strain. A supplier called the booth looking for the dock code. Rafi followed protocol and asked for the reference number. The caller did not have it and grew annoyed. Rafi stayed calm and offered the correct path, then relayed the call to the supervisor. He hung, up, took a breath, and rubbed his eyes for a second. The turning point came on a quiet night that began with small, ordinary things. The rain had stopped. The air felt clean. The city lights were soft and steady. Rafi reached his booth early, straightened the logbook, checked the radio battery, and looked at his lamp with a hopeful glance. It flickered once, steadied for 10 seconds, and faded again. He did not frown. He simply opened his thick blue book and clicked on his flashlight. The circle of light fell on the page like a promise he kept making to himself. The trainee arrived a few minutes later with his plain badge and plain jacket. He had a calm look and that same habit of listening more than he spoke. He greeted Rafi, checked the monitors, and took the patrol keys. But before they left, he asked a simple question. Is there a spare lamp anywhere? Rafi smiled. I asked maintenance again. It is in the queue. He lifted the flashlight and said, This will do. The trainee nodded, yet he was thinking of the rule he had written for himself. Start with the physical. On patrol, they moved through floors that smelled of fresh paper and quiet machines. A cleaner waved from a hallway. 2 late workers passed with a quick hello. At the end of one corridor was a small storage room for supplies. It was not locked, only closed. The trainee stopped and peered in. On a shelf sat a box marked Loaner Equipment Facilities. He saw a simple desk lamp inside, still wrapped in clear plastic. He did not take it. He took out his phone and wrote down the asset number printed on the box. When they reached the booth, he asked the night supervisor if a loaner lamp could be assigned to the security post until the real repair came through. The supervisor blinked, surprised. "If facilities agrees," he said, "log it and tag the asset number." The trainee called the facility's on-call line, gave the asset number, explained the flicker as an operations issue, and asked for a temporary placement approval. The on-call tech said yes. "Log it now. I'll update the ticket in the morning." At 2 in the morning, the trainee returned with the lamp from the storage shelf, the approval number on a sticky note, and a calm smile. He set the lamp on the booth desk, plugged it in, and clicked it on. A clean, even light filled the space. Raffi looked at the page of his book and then at the trainee. He did not make a big fuss. He simply said, "Thank you," in a true, quiet way, the way a person says it when a strain they had learned to ignore is suddenly gone. He slid his flashlight to the side, still near, but no longer doing all the work. He read a paragraph, then another, without squinting. A chair problem was next. The booth chair tilted to one side and made a little squeak every time Raffi moved. He had learned to sit just so, to keep his back from getting sore. The trainee asked if there was a spare sturdy chair anywhere. The supervisor said the only extras were in a conference room on level 4. "Those are for clients," he added. The trainee nodded, went to the quiet conference room, and looked at the chairs. They were not fancy. They were firm and simple. He called the on-call line again and asked if one chair could be reassigned to the booth as a safety need for an 8-hour post. "Tag it and log it," the tech said. "We'll replace the conference room chair tomorrow." The trainee rolled the chair down the hall, into the elevator, and to the booth. He set it in place and wrote the asset tag in the log. Raffi sat in the chair and let out a soft breath he had not noticed he was holding. The chair did not wobble. The lamp did not blink. The book words looked sharp and friendly. The building looked the same, but suddenly it felt kinder. He opened to a section on troubleshooting flow and traced the steps with a finger. "Check physical first," he read with a small smile. "That rule is good," the trainee said. They both held the truth of it between them for a moment. Later that night, a small thing happened that showed the size of Raffi's heart. Amina, the cleaner with the squeaky wheel, came by looking worried. Her phone battery had died, and she needed to check the change time for her bus. Raffi took his flashlight and walked with her to the wall where the schedules hung. He held the light steady and read the options out loud. "2 choices," he said kindly. "One at 5:20 and one at 5:40. She chose the earlier one. She thanked him and smiled in relief. Raffi returned to the booth and, without a word, turned the page in his book and picked up his pen. The trainee watched this and felt a warm decision form in his chest. The building had given them a lamp and a chair tonight. Now maybe it could. Give time and trust, too. During the official break, the trainee asked if Raffi wanted to try a little self-test. Raffi grinned. "I made one," he said, tapping the back of his notebook. He had drawn 10 questions the night before when his phone data ran out. He set a timer for 9 minutes, answered each question in one line, and checked his answers against the book. He got 7 out of 10 right. The 3 he missed were about subnet masks. "I always mix that up," he said calmly. The trainee suggested a simple trick. Draw a small house for the network and a road for the rest. "Mask shows how much of the address is the house," he said. They drew it together like 2 kids making a quick map. Raffi tried the 3 questions again. This time, he got them right. That week, the trainee took one more step that a careful trainee could take. He opened the staff portal and found a small internal learning module called Systems Basics for Operations. It had 3 short lessons and a quiz at the end. He asked the supervisor if staff could take it during their official break as part of skill building. "If they want to," the supervisor said, "as long as the post is covered." The trainee told Rafi about it. Rafi smiled, set his timer, and took the module on a small terminal in the back room during his break. He read each page carefully and used his new lamp to take notes on paper. He scored 92 on the quiz. An automatic note went to the operations inbox. Rafi completed Systems Basics for Operations. The next day, a day manager who rarely saw the night crew wrote a short line on the roster board. "Good job, Rafi. Thanks for taking the systems module." The words were not large, they were not poetic, but they were real. When Rafi came in and saw them, his face lit with a quiet pride. He took a photo of the note and sent it to his wife. The trainee saw that smile and felt like the lamp had turned up one more notch. In the middle of that week, the building IT technician named Jordan came by to check the east side camera that had fogged. The trainee happened to be near the booth when Jordan arrived. He introduced Jordan to Rafi. They shook hands. Jordan opened a small toolbox and crouched by the console. He pointed at a screen and said, "Sometimes the IP camera gets a new address by mistake. You know how to find it?" It was a light question, half friendly, half test. Rafi thought for a second and said, "If it lost the set address and took one from the pool, I can check the router's table for the last lease. If that fails, I can check the camera's small display or use the discovery tool." Jordan looked at him, impressed. "You study at night?" he asked, smiling. "Yes," Rafi said. "I am trying for a basic certificate." Jordan nodded. "Good. If you want, I can show you how the access control network works during your break sometime. It is close to what you are learning." Rafi thanked him. The trainee did not speak, but inside he was glad. This was how doors opened, small, true moments that showed real skill and real goodwill. 2 nights later, Jordan returned with a short, safe demo during Rafi's break. He showed him a test console with sample data, not connected to the live system. He pointed out how the camera names matched door locations, how pings moved through the network, and how a simple reset could solve a frozen feed. He asked Rafi 3 small questions. Rafi answered all 3 well. Jordan wrote a quick email to operations. "Rafi shows promise with camera triage basics. Might be useful as a backup on nights for simple checks with clear rules." The night supervisor printed the note and tucked it in the log. He did not make a ceremony of it. He simply said, "Good work," in his quiet way. Rafi nodded, eyes bright. Meanwhile, the trainee took a careful look at the old education policy page again. He wrote a small neutral note to the HR general inbox. Question: Do hourly night staff qualify for exam fee reimbursement for entry-level certificates related to their work? If yes, is there a form? If no, is there a plan to review? He signed it with his trainee email and added his unit as operations. The reply came the next day from a kind HR specialist. At present, the policy applies to salaried staff. We are reviewing broader access this quarter. Thank you for raising the question. If you have examples of night staff pursuing relevant certificates, please share. The trainee read this and felt the door move. It was not open yet, but it was not locked either. On the floor, the lamp and the chair were already making a difference. Rafi used his official breaks more effectively. He timed a full 20-minute practice set on paper and graded it himself. He improved his score from 7 to 8, then to 9 out of 10. On his day off, he went to the public library and printed a sample exam. He sat at a table, set his timer, and did 40 questions. He got 33 correct. He came back to the booth the next night and told the trainee with a shy smile, "I think I can pass," he said softly. The trainee smiled back. "I think you can too." There were still bumps. A memo reminded staff to avoid non-work reading outside breaks. Raffi obeyed, as he always did. A busy delivery window stole a break again one night. The days moved in a steady rhythm. Raffi kept his plan. He read during his official breaks. He set his timer. He drew small diagrams. He helped anyone who came to the booth with a kind voice and a steady hand. The loner lamp glowed without a blink. The new chair held his back straight. The trainee watched the small changes add up. A person learns better in a kind place. A kind place starts with light, time, and a good chair. The trainee also kept moving in his quiet way. He spoke with facilities about replacing old bulbs in booths across the building, not just Raffi's. He checked the old policy pages again and shared 2 short examples with HR. He did not use large words. He said, "These 2 people study on their breaks. One passed a short module, one helped during a drill. Can we open exam support to hourly night staff?" The HR specialist wrote back, "We will bring this to our review meeting this week. Thank you." The trainee saved that note. It felt like a door handle turning. On the floor, people noticed small things changing. A new sign went up in the staff portal. Loaner lamps for posts. Request through facilities. A second sign said, "Quiet room open on level 3 24/7. Table, 2 chairs, 1 outlet. Please keep it quiet. First come, first serve." The room was simple, but the light was bright and steady. A person could sit for 20 minutes and not feel like a visitor in their own workplace. Raffi tried it once during his break. He smiled when he walked in. The room smelled like fresh paint and new promise. Jordan, the IT technician, stopped by the booth one evening with a small gift that followed the rules. It was a printed sheet, not connected to any system. It showed the names of common devices and the simple steps a person could try during a freeze. Check cables, try a safe reset. Confirm the label. "For your notes," he said. Raffi thanked him. He did not put the sheet on the desk. He slipped it into his notebook and added his own small drawings to remember each step. 2 nights later, a note appeared on the roster board for all staff. Short meeting Friday, 7:15 a.m. in the small auditorium. Light breakfast. The night team looked at each other. Meetings at that hour were rare. Raffi raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Maybe someone is bringing more lamps?" he joked lightly. The trainee kept his calm face, but inside he felt the moment coming close. He had worn the plain jacket and plain badge long enough to see clearly. Now he needed to do something honest and open. If change was to last, it had to be clear and shared. Friday came. The night shift moved into the small auditorium in steady waves. Some carried notebooks, some carried coffee. Amina sat near the aisle with 2 cleaners. Jordan stood at the back with his tool bag and a grin. The day manager sat near the front. The trainee stood to one side of the small stage and looked at the faces. These were the people who made the building work when most of the city slept. He took a breath and stepped forward. He did not open with a title. He opened with a story. He said he joined the night shift to learn how the building truly worked. He said he had watched a person study by flashlight because a lamp did not work. He said he had seen how an extra hour moved like a ripple through a life. Bus time, sleep time, family time. He said he had seen kindness on quiet floors, a guard sharing a light so a cleaner could find a bus time, a tech offering simple steps. In plain words. He said he had learned more in those nights than in a stack of reports. Then he paused, and he told them the truth. "Some of you know me as an operations trainee," he said. "That is true, but it is not the full truth. I am also the CEO." There was a small sound in the room as people adjusted their seats. Some eyes got wide. A few people smiled with surprise. Raffi looked at him, surprised too, then calm again. The trainee, now the CEO in full, lifted his hands in a gentle way. "I came to see with my own eyes," he said in simple words. "I am grateful you let me stand beside you." He did not dwell on the reveal. He moved to the work. He said they were starting a pilot program for all hourly and salaried staff on nights and days. He said it in clear steps, like a clean checklist. First, exam fee reimbursement for entry-level certificates that fit the work, including IT support, building systems, and safety courses. Second, study stipends in small amounts that help with books or bus passes. Third, protected break time that managers would plan fairly so people could study without breaking rules. Fourth, a quiet room on each main floor within 2 months. Fifth, a simple learning mentor system. People who knew a little more could share a little more in safe, planned ways. He paused and added something important. No one is forced, he said. Not everyone wants a new certificate, but anyone who wants to learn should find a real path here. Talent is everywhere. It grows when a workplace is kind. He looked at Jordan. Jordan will lead a safe, basic night demo twice a week for those who want to understand how the camera and access systems work. No live data, just practice steps. Jordan nodded and gave a small thumbs up. People smiled. Then the CEO looked toward the back of the room, where Rafi stood near the door. He did not say full names. He did not call out private details. He said only what was fair and kind. One of our guards completed the internal systems module with a strong score. He stayed calm during a drill and used a simple reset step to help. He studies on his breaks with great care. People like him are the reason this program exists. We will reimburse his exam fee when he passes, and we have already arranged that his exam day will be covered so he can go rested and ready. He looked at Rafi and nodded in a warm, quiet way. Rafi nodded back, eyes bright. The room felt different now. It felt awake. People began to ask questions, one by one in clear voices. How many exams per year? 2 for the pilot, the CEO said. Who approves? The list of exams? A small group from operations, IT, and HR, with a simple form to fill. What about English classes for those who want them? Yes, he said. We will partner with a local program and cover part of the cost. What about schedule swaps to attend a Saturday class? The day manager answered that one. We will make a rule that supports planned learning swaps when posted 1 week ahead, so the team can plan. We will help, not block. Breakfast boxes were opened, coffee was poured. People began to talk in small clusters. Amina asked about a short class in computer basics. Yes, the CEO said. Let's set one up at the quiet room with a trainer. A guard asked about first aid certification. The CEO said that would be covered too. The day manager wrote down a short list of first steps on a whiteboard. Lamps, chairs, quiet rooms, exam list, mentor sessions, schedule swaps. Simple things, each with a date. After the meeting, the CEO walked down to the booth with Rafi and the night supervisor. He did not speak for a minute. He looked at the chair, the lamp, and the logbook. He ran his hand over the desk like a person might touch a railing before going down the stairs. Thank you for letting me learn here, he said at last. The supervisor nodded. Rafi looked at him with a calm smile. You did not make a big speech that night, Rafi said. You just brought a lamp and a chair. The CEO laughed softly. I learned that from your book, he said. Check physical first. The exam day came the following week. Rafi took the night before off as planned. He ironed his shirt with a collar. He set 2 alarms and placed his book in his bag, though he knew he would not open it again that night. He slept deeply. In the morning, he had tea with his wife and told his child a quick story about networks and houses and roads. If the address says this is home, he said, drawing the simple picture on a piece of paper, then the rest is the road to everywhere else. His child smiled and put the drawing on the fridge. He reached the testing center early. He sat in a quiet chair. He closed his eyes and took one steady breath, then another. When the test began, he did what he had trained himself to do. He read the whole question. He underlined key words on the scratch paper they gave him. He skipped the one problem that looked like a trap and came back to it later. At the halfway mark, he set his timer in his mind and took a slow sip of water. When he hit the subnet mask questions, he drew the small house and the road on his scratch paper, just like he and the trainee had done. He smiled to himself and chose the right answers. At the end, the screen showed a message. It was a simple word: pass. Raffi looked at it with quiet joy. He did not shout. He did not raise his hands. He let the word settle in his chest like a warm light. He stood, thanked the testing staff, and stepped outside into clean air. He called his wife and told her. She laughed and cried at the same time. He called the night supervisor and said, "I passed." The supervisor said, "Good man." He sent a quick note to Jordan. "Pass. Thank you." Jordan replied with 3 bright words: "Knew you would." When Raffi came in for his next shift, a small card waited at the booth. It said, "Well done, Raffi. Exam passed. Fee reimbursed. See Operations HR for next steps." It was signed, with 3 names: the day manager, the HR specialist, and Jordan. There was no big banner. There was a simple box of tea bags on the desk and a new box of sticky notes. Raffi smiled at both. Tools matter, even small ones. Over the next 2 weeks, the next steps came in a calm, steady line. Raffi met with HR to review the new entry-level IT support role that had opened on nights. The role was made possible by the pilot and by a manager who saw the bridge between security and IT. Raffi applied like anyone else. He filled the form. He shared his exam result. The weeks after Raffi's new role began felt both new and familiar. He still came through the same staff entrance. He still greeted the same reception desk with a kind, "Good evening." He still waved to Amina and the other cleaners as they pushed their carts down the quiet halls. But now, after he checked in, he walked to a small IT room with a neat desk, a simple console, and a rack with gentle blue lights. The badge on his shirt said, "IT Support, Night." He smiled each time. He saw it. It was not a loud smile. It was the calm smile of someone who had built a small bridge and had finally crossed it. On his first night in the new role, Jordan met him with a friendly nod. "Welcome," Jordan said. "We will start simple. We will start with the physical." Raffi laughed softly. "I know that rule," he said. They reviewed the checklist together. The steps were clear and kind. Check cables, check labels, try a safe reset, confirm the device name, log what you did in plain words. Raffi wrote each step again in his notebook in his own handwriting. He drew a small picture for each step. Pictures helped him think. Pictures would help others, too. Soon the calls began. A camera froze for a moment on a quiet floor. A door reader showed a red light and would not turn green. A monitor at the dock showed a thin gray line. Each time, Raffi took a breath, kept his voice steady, and followed the steps. He did not rush. He did not guess. He checked the simple things first. Many problems ended right there, with a cable seated well, a label checked, a clean reset, and a clear note. Each small fix was a message. To the team: you are safe, the system is steady, the night can keep moving. He did not forget the booth. During slow minutes, he visited the security posts and asked how the lamps were doing. He asked if the chairs still held well. He asked if the quiet room stayed quiet. People told him small truths. "The lamp on level 6 hums a little," one guard said. Raffi noted it and sent a maintenance request with the right choice of words. "The chair on level 2 is fine," another said, "but the wheels stick." Raffi added a note for facilities. "The quiet room is good," Amina said, "but the outlet on the left is loose." Raffi tested it, confirmed the issue, and logged it. He had learned that a kind place requires simple maintenance, done again and again, like watering a plant. The pilot program grew. HR posted a clean page with a short list of approved entry-level certificates. It included IT support, building systems basics, safety, first aid, and computer fundamentals. The page showed a simple path. Talk to your supervisor, fill a one-page form, plan your breaks, get the exam fee covered when you pass. A small group met every 2 weeks to review new requests. They used few words and many clear checkboxes. The tone was friendly. The rules were plain. People could follow them without fear of missing a hidden line. In the second month, 2 guards passed a safety course. One concierge finished the computer basics class and sent her first email to her child with a proud smile. A cleaner asked for help writing her first resume. A young night clerk signed up for English lessons. Each small step looked like a simple dot on a page, but when you stood back, the dots made a pattern. It looked like a building, lit from within by people who felt seen. The CEO kept his promise to see. He still wore the plain jacket some nights and walked the routes with quiet steps. He no longer pretended to be a trainee, but he also did not make a show of himself. He asked short, honest questions. He listened. He stood in the quiet room and breathed in the calm. He touched the edge of a new lamp with 2 fingers and thought about the night he found the first one in the storage room. He smiled at the memory. Then he looked at the notice board and read the signs in simple print. Study time is protected during breaks. Ask for help. We are here. If a tool is broken, tell us. We will fix it. He felt proud, not in a grand way, but in a humble way that felt right. One night brought a gentle test. A series of storms rolled through. The building took a deep breath as wind moved along the windows. A camera feed near the east stairwell stuttered, paused, and returned. The dock monitor flickered for a second. The phone on the IT desk rang, twice in 5 minutes. Rafi answered each call with the same steady tone. "It's support, Rafi speaking. How can I help?" He walked the steps. He checked the cables. He confirmed the labels. He tried the safe reset when needed. He logged the time and result in simple words. Reset applied. Feed restored in 8 seconds. By dawn, the building had passed the storm without worry. The day manager left a small note. "Night team kept things steady. Thank you." Rafi smiled at the note and pinned it on a corkboard. Words matter. Small gratitude matters too. Rafi did not keep his new knowledge to himself. He remembered what it felt like to study in a flickering light. He remembered the way confusion felt in the first chapters of his big blue book. So he made a simple handout called First Steps When Something Freezes. He wrote it in plain English. He used short sentences. He drew little boxes and arrows. He put the steps in the right order. He printed 10 copies and left them in the quiet room and at the booths. He added a line at the bottom. "If you try these steps and still need help, call IT support. Night. We are happy to help." People began to use the handout. They underlined lines. They added their own notes. They began to say, "I tried the first 3 steps already," when they called him. The calls grew smoother. The nights grew calmer. At home, life changed in quiet, steady ways. The new role's pay eased the bus money worries. The exam fee had come back to him, and he used part of it to buy a used desk for his child. The desk had 2 small drawers. They put pencils in one and paper in the other. He helped with homework in the late afternoon. He showed his child how to draw the simple house and road picture for any new problem. "First, draw the home," he would say with a soft laugh. "Then draw the road. Know which is which. Then you will know what to do." The child began to love simple maps too. On Sundays, Rafi sometimes took his big blue book to the public library. He did not need to pass another exam right away. He simply liked to learn. He sat by a window, let the warm light fall on the page, and read a chapter that had once scared him. Now it felt friendly. He made a new notebook called Bridge Notes. In it, he wrote down how to explain tech ideas to people who did not speak tech. He kept the words simple. He wrote about names to numbers instead of long terms. He wrote about home parts and road parts. He wrote about how to speak kindly when someone felt stuck. He had learned that kindness is a tool, too. The company noticed the change in small numbers that told a true story. Fewer calls turned into long problems. More issues were solved on the first try. Staff stayed longer. Fewer people left because they felt unseen. The HR specialist who had answered the trainee's first email wrote a new note to the CEO. Retention has improved by 4 points on night teams since the pilot began. People mention feeling respected in exit interviews, even when they leave for other reasons. The CEO read this note and thought of the first night, the flashlight circle, the steady hand turning a page. He saved the note in a folder, called Proof of Kindness. One evening, the company invited a small group to speak at a community event about simple, fair workplaces. Rafi did not like big stages. He liked quiet rooms and clear steps. But he agreed to join a panel in a small hall. He spoke in his steady way. He said that help can be very basic. A good lamp, a chair that does not wobble, a clear rule that gives people time to learn, a mentor who shares one step at a time. He said that a person's future grows best when a workplace does not make it harder. He did not speak about himself for long. He told 3 small stories: Amina reading a bus schedule by flashlight, a guard passing a first aid course and feeling useful in a new way, a young clerk sending an email to his family for the first time. The audience did not clap loud. They smiled and nodded and wrote notes. The host said, "Thank you for playing, words that help." Back at the building, a new guard joined the night crew. His name was Tomas. On his first week, he stood in the booth, a little stiff, a little worried. The lamp shone bright on the desk. The chair held steady. The logbook had neat notes. Rafi stopped by and said hello. He handed Tomas the first steps when something freezes sheet and the how to get help card. He said, "Do not feel shy to call. We like to help. We all learn." Tomas looked relieved. "Thank you," he said. "I will try my best." Rafi nodded. "Try a little each day," he said. "Even a brick becomes a wall if you place it one by one." Tomas smiled at the line and wrote it on a sticky note. The quiet room grew busy in a good way. People set timers and respected each other's breaks. Someone left a small plant on the windowsill. Someone else left a simple pencil sharpener with a note that said, "Please share." A wall had a small board where people wrote goals in short lines. Pass computer basics by June. Finish English level 2. Take first aid class. Rafi wrote one too. Teach 3 people my simple steps. He smiled when he wrote it. Life feels different when you can give back. The day came when the CEO walked the building in daylight with a group of visitors. The glass walls shone. The lobby smelled like clean paper and fresh coffee. The visitors asked about big systems and budgets. The CEO answered politely. But when the group reached a staff corridor, he slowed the tour and pointed to a door with a small sign, "Quiet Room." He opened it and let the visitors see.